Welcome back to more Tales from the Crypt. Let's go. And today we're talking about King of the Road, which is episode 9 of season 4. And this episode's notable for featuring one of the earliest performances from a young Brad Pitt. At this point in his career, Pitt was still largely unknown. His biggest claim to fame was having a small but memorable role in Thelma and Louise. He wasn't the movie star we know today, but you can already see flashes of the intensity and charisma that would later define performances in films like California and Fight Club. And King of the Road isn't your typical Tales from the Crypt episode. It's more like a psychological thriller with the atmosphere of a modern western. The real horror comes from the growing tension between its characters. There's a sense of unease that lingers long after the episode ends. It's a slower burn than most entries in the series, but that's exactly why it's so memorable. And looking back today, King of the Road feels like a hidden gem buried inside the Tales from the Crypt catalog, because it explores something very human. What happens when your greatest achievement becomes the thing you spend the rest of your life trying to escape? And the story follows Sheriff Joe Garrett, a quiet small-town lawman raising his daughter Carrie. At first he appears completely ordinary. He's respected in his town, keeps to himself, and seems content with the simple life, but he's hiding a secret. Years before, he was known as the Iceman, an undefeated drag racing legend who ruled the roads for nearly a decade. The kind of local legend whose story grows larger every year. The kind of guy who young racers hear about and immediately want to challenge. And the problem is, Joe doesn't want to be remembered. 27 years earlier, a race ended in tragedy and a competitor died. And after that, Joe walked away from racing forever. And the Iceman became Sheriff Joe, or at least he tried to, because legends have a way of refusing to stay buried. Enter Brad Pitt. He plays Billy Drake, a young hotshot who rolls into town with a massive chip on his shoulder, determined to challenge the Iceman in the ultimate pissing contest. And at this point, Brad Pitt's still an up-and-coming actor, but what's crazy is how obvious his star power already is. The second he shows up, he dominates every scene. He has that effortless charisma that makes you want to watch him, even when he's playing a complete lunatic, because that's exactly what Billy is. And he doesn't come to town looking for friendly competition, he comes looking for validation. The fact there's someone out there with a bigger rep than him absolutely eats away at him. He's insecure, arrogant, and obsessed with proving he's the best. So he starts trying to goad Iceman into racing him. But the problem is he's a cop now. He's got a badge, a family, and responsibilities. He can't be caught drag racing guys like Billy. So he politely turns him down. And you think that would be the end of it, right? Wrong. Not for Billy. Billy can't let it go. When challenging him doesn't work, he starts blackmailing him with pieces of his past. When that doesn't work, he starts using intimidation tactics, throwing tarantulas in his mailbox. But when none of that gets the reaction he wants, he figures out exactly where to hit him. His daughter. Billy starts flirting with her, getting close to her, and slowly turning her against her father. And he's using her as a pawn in his little psychological war that only matters to himself. And Carrie is played by Michelle Bronson, and I've never seen her in anything else after this. This might have been the only thing she's ever been in, but she does a great job in this episode. She has that classic girl next door quality that fits this perfectly, and she brings a lot more emotional weight to the role than you'd expect from a character like this. It's really surprising she didn't end up in more stuff after, because look at her, she's gorgeous. So for this week's episode, Michelle Bronson gets Baddie of the Week. But by using Carrie, Billy gets exactly what he wants, access to Joe. Now he's in his house, sitting at his table, walking around like he owns the fucking place, and things are starting to get genuinely uncomfortable. And this is more than a rivalry, it's a complete violation of boundaries. Billy isn't trying to just beat Iceman on the road, he's trying to get inside of his head. Every move he makes is designed to provoke a reaction. And Brad Pitt totally brings a Max Cady Cape Fear kind of vibe to this. He plays a guy who feels wronged by the protagonist, and he's got a hard-on for him, and he's not going to stop until he completely ruins his life. But except in this episode, Joe didn't do shit to Billy. All he did was retire from the game, but that's not good enough. If Iceman doesn't race Billy, then Billy's gonna come at his pride, challenge his authority, and force him into a situation where if he doesn't do anything, he looks weak. but doing something about him could cost him everything. And honestly, Billy's a complete idiot. This guy shows up at a sheriff's house, blackmailing him, messing with his daughter. He's asking to be made an example of. You don't fuck with cops. And honestly, Joe could have framed him on some shit and locked his ass up and got away with it. It's a small podunk town. No one's gonna believe anything this Billy guy says. But eventually Iceman snaps and he beats the living shit out of Billy. And Billy takes it like a champ, but he's actually smarter than he looks, because the beating ends up working in his favor. Carrie sees the damage and immediately sympathizes with him and runs off with him. And now Billy has exactly what he wanted. But even that wasn't good enough. In order to really sell the point that Joe has to race him, he ties up Carrie and throws her in his trunk. I mean, just running off with her would have been good enough, but Jesus. And now Joe's own daughter is being used as collateral in order for him to race Billy. And to Billy, Joe isn't even a person. He's a trophy, a final boss. Billy wants to prove something to himself by defeating the king. And Billy spends this entire episode hunting a ghost, the ghost of Joe's former identity. And Joe spent nearly 3 decades trying to kill that ghost himself. And Joe doesn't want to race, he wants to live in peace. Billy represents the exact opposite, youth and ego. He doesn't see much farther past his own racing ambitions, the belief that greatness matters more than consequences. And the older Joe gets, the more he realizes that mentality is bullshit. And Joe Garrett is like a retired gunslinger, and Billy Drake is the young outlaw looking to make a name for himself, and Carrie's the innocent girl caught in the middle. Joe finally acquiesces to Billy and gives him the race. He gets his old car out of the shop that his old friend Mo kept in pristine shape, just waiting for the day for Joe to bless him with his presence. All it took was his daughter getting kidnapped, and Mo's dreams come true. And Billy, being a man of his word, hands over Carrie to Joe as soon as he shows up to the race. So you gotta give him credit for that. And you figure this would be the perfect opportunity for Carrie to put a bullet right between his eyes. But Joe has honor. We're gonna do this the right way. Cause even after all this shit, Joe's getting a little fire in his gut from racing Billy. His sadistic ass actually likes this. And Joe gets to return back to his former glory. But little did Billy know, Joe pulls a Montreal screw job on him, pulls off to the side, and lets Billy run into a forklift, like an asshole. And now that counts as 2 vehicular manslaughters for Joe. It was so nice, he had to do it twice. Ow! And Billy, feeling like an ultimate bitch because he just lost to an 80-year-old man, can't live with the shame, and ices himself by blowing his own ass up and dying like a man. And the old gunslinger walks off with his daughter, leaving Billy's dead body behind, and that's the end for the Iceman. Or is it? But I love this episode. This episode is totally unique in the entire Tales from the Crypt catalog. There's not one like it. I guess you could call it horror, but there's not really any horror besides, the fact that Billy dies. It's more suspense, but it's fun as hell. And this is the Brad Pitt that the world fell in love with just a year or 2 later, when he got his defining role as the stoned guy on the couch in True Romance. But I digress. And part of what makes this episode work is the director Tom Holland. Not the one from Spider-Man, but the guy that made Fright Night and Child's Play. He understands that suspense works best when it grows out of personality. Billy isn't frightening because he's physically intimidating. He's frightening because he's obsessed. Every scene he feels like a ticking time bomb. And Billy won't stop until he gets what he wants, and that tension drives the entire episode. And the strangest thing about King of the Road is that it wasn't originally made for Tales from the Crypt at all. The episode was produced as part of Two-Fisted Tales, an EC Comics adaptation that was intended to become its own television project. When the project failed to move forward, several completed segments were folded into Tales from the Crypt. Suddenly, a drag race and drama became a Tales from the Crypt episode. It's like a television orphan that found a home with Tales from the Crypt. But Tales from the Crypt, in a sense, is kind of like the island of misfit toys. It can tell all types of stories. Because at the end of the day, you're still going to feel fucked up by the end. And sometimes the real horror comes from everyday shit. What's also cool about this episode is it has a completely original soundtrack by Warren Zevon, who's one of my all-time favorite songwriters. I literally have his logo tattooed on my arm, just because it's badass. But what's fucked up is you can't find the songs anywhere. They're only in this episode. Like the shit ain't on MP3. No one ever released it. The only times you can hear it is when you watch this, which sucks. Cause I mean, I'd love to just be driving down the block, listening to Bad Road, Wretched Road, gonna see my baby, gonna shoot my load. But yeah, man, tell me some of your favorite scenes, your favorite quotes. Tell me what this episode means to you. Tell me some of your favorite Tales from the Crypt episodes. And also, I got my members section up and running, and I'm posting exclusive videos that you will only see on there. Like I got one on The Shining, talking about how Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing and hid all sorts of clues in it. So check that out. And to the rest of you, I hope you have a good night. Be safe. Gonna see my baby, gonna shoot my load. And God bless.